Eli, we're done. Can you make sure you do the punk rock one?
Let's go!
So you didn't even do all that. You didn't even do that fancy edit. I literally just got our video and I did a short sneak peek, which is usually our intro.
Maybe
and I
videos
promote that.
Maybe videos are not promotable.
I'll go talk to my guy on Instagram, see what I could find out.
Let's talk to Mark Zuckerberg.
But does that make sense?
Talk to your guy.
I got a guy out there.
Be a broker.
Martin's your guy? Martin.
I'm texting him right now. Martin responded.
Martin, look into this. We gotta find out.
We're good.
Does this sound any better?
Yeah, a lot better.
Okay.
Wow.
I can hear you way worse now.
I'm trying not to be as intense as I was in your last one. So I'm doing like the smooth jazz guy. So I'm gonna be very low on this one.
But your energy is gonna be excited though, right?
I'm feeling very Robert right now.
We can cover for you, Martin. We could be like, sorry about our guest. He's trying to learn how to take the N-word out of his vocabulary. He's still working on that. Letters it out.
All right, I don't even know what's gonna happen. So let's just
do it.
go.
Do the intro.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Primas podcast. This is Cindy. Jessica, ¿cómo estás, mija?
Hi, Prima. How are you?
Oh, we're gonna have to
bring
the
it up.
energy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hey, Prima, how's it going?
Okay.
I didn't do my line of cocaine as I promised. I'm sorry. I let you down.
It's okay. It's showbiz. So if you can maybe call Carlos and let him know not to be late next time. Thank you. Okay. We have a super exciting topic. It's not really exciting, but it's something that is going on. And I really thought it was important that we talked about it. And we just so happen to have someone that works very closely with the homeless population. You may have heard Prima Jess mention in the past, I work with the homeless population. I work with everybody. Look at me. I help others. No, I'm just kidding. We all help. And so I want to really get deep into this conversation, but we want it to be a conversation about how we can put ourselves in other people's shoes and then also talk about what is really going on with the homeless community, because I'm in Denver, Jess is in LA, and we're starting to notice that it's getting more and more populated, I guess is the word. Like we
more
just start
seeing more encampments.
There's more encampments coming up. And I think COVID obviously like kickstarted some stuff, but that's what we're talking about today. And I'm so excited because my two little brothers are on with us. Yay!
Welcome back, Martini.
Hey. Firing on all cylinders. Sorry, I'm on like 2 other business calls. So Cindy told me like 5 minutes ago that you guys called me for some advice. I think it was sexual advice. I can help. Whatever you guys need, I'm here for today. So that's what we're talking about. I'm on it.
We need sexual advice about like the homeless specifically.
And of course you came to me. It makes sense.
The youngest brother that has had one partner.
At least experience.
That's a lie. I've had so much sex.
I've borked a lot of women in my day.
I also will be filtering in and out as I am on the other line with Martin on that business call. And so we're just going to filter in and out.
Eli, this is like his first appearance in season 2. Yay!
I wish you would never have introduced me with that voice.
Yeah, but
that is very Blue's Clues.
You guys don't even understand. We've been begging Eloy to record with us for a long time. So, I don't care.
I bring on this energy, guys. It's just you call me and then I bring on the guest. Like now, ever since my episode, everybody wants to do your podcast now. Whatever.
I was a little offended when you guys didn't want to try my second podcast option. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take a break.
What was your second podcast option?
It was going to be a sports podcast.
Specifically talk about the Green Bay Packers.
We're gonna involve psychology and see how these football players.
I feel like there's only so much you can talk about them.
And their mentals. Are you not been hearing about concussions, Martin? Come on.
No, that's fake. That's a democratic fad.
I know being a Raider fan doesn't make you want to be much of a sports fan in general. But anyways,
Global warming doesn't exist.
Dang.
we're getting off topic.
Global warming doesn't exist.
Cindy, wrap us up.
Okay. Well, so there you have us. You have 4 barajas with you guys, so bear with us. I know that's a little intense for Jessica because
It
as
is.
behind the scenes the other day, she mentioned that when the 5 of us are together, she doesn't know what to do with her head, and she just leaves.
They're just very overwhelming, guys. We only have 3, and I haven't even gotten a word in the last 10 minutes, and we started 3 minutes ago. Just to give you a glimpse of how intense they all are. And sometimes they're all talking at the exact same time. And they just don't understand that it's a lot of energy they all give off. So I did
Me
state this
too?
the last time. No, I could.
You're lying. I was about to say it is. You would think it's just a guy's thing, but Cindy is the exact same way.
No,
For real?
Cindy's way more mellow and funny.
She does it on the-
She's
she
like the
does it-
funniest one of you 5.
She's most barajas on this podcast. Notice you rarely get words in, Jess.
Cindy's
yeah.
Cindy's very handsy. That's the thing.
What does that mean?
So if we're around her and you want to see her energy, you can really only get it in person, and she gets very physical. Her comedy is very physical.
We're
So
romantic with our words.
she's the type to throw herself like on a stack of chairs for no reason. Like she's just going crazy.
Superstar?
Straight
Okay.
up.
So, have you all ever imagined what it would be like? Just imagine right now what it would be like for you to tonight sleep on the street. Like you having to find a place to sleep on the street. Something that wasn't a livable situation, or in your car, because a lot of people also sleep in their cars. So, yeah, can you imagine? Like, especially as a woman, to try to find a safe place all night and then sleep. And it's like, what do you cover yourself with? Cardboard? That there's no way that's comfortable.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Prima, to bring up to start the conversation. It is very difficult to imagine, but I think that's a good point to bring up because a lot of the clients I work with, they're not like you and I. So it's very difficult to ask that question to you and I or our cousins because it's a totally different mindset that they're in. And I think that's where a lot of people tend to blur the lines. Either they're an ally or they're a foe. They're not for the homeless population. And because they always compare themselves to that person, they have nothing, they know nothing about. I hear people who typically are not an ally come up to me and be like, oh, you're enabling them. They're capable of working. Look, they're standing, they're walking. And it's just like, well, if we have that mindset, how are we offering a solution? Where's the empathy and compassion? You have no idea what this person is going through, but yet we're going to compare them based off your success, based off your mindset and your motivation in life. And that's already an unfair advantage for the individual that we're judging and making these false assumptions about. So I think that's a good point you brought up.
I wanted to mention that I was doing there's a lot of documentaries on YouTube that are really cool, and they all have like very different perspectives about homelessness all across the US. And I feel like a lot of people don't know exactly who these people are. Unless you're working in that environment, you're like, what are the people's backgrounds, right? And when you start working in that environment, you start hearing these stories, and they're super like intense because they're so individual. There's not like, oh yeah, that's how they are. They're just a bunch of lazy bums. And it's like, well, this person's been raped all her life by her dad, and she couldn't take that, and she didn't seek mental health support because what is that? That we don't have that type of support. And so she turned to drugs. Her family started to try to cope with, imagine, you have no support, you don't have anyone to protect you. You turn to drugs. I feel like very like, yeah, I can see that happening, like personally. And then you end up in the street, and now you're in a very vulnerable situation. So it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned a good point. You just said mental health services. And that's, in my opinion, where it stems from, because a lot of these people who are out there feel safer being outdoors, and we call it vulnerable, but they rather be somewhere where they're not inside, that is reminding them of whatever trauma they never healed from. whatever institution, they couldn't get past. I came across a
Interesting.
client who couldn't even use the restroom. For whatever
Why?
reason, something
okay.
happened in his trauma where he was being abused in the restroom. And isn't that crazy? Like you would question, like, well, why can't this guy ever use the restroom? Why isn't this guy going to use the restroom for his like number one or number two? And you would always see these bottles of like urine there. And I'm just like, and then I asked my coworkers and they're like, yeah, well, this is his story. This is why he doesn't use the restroom.
Crazy.
All right. Well, this topic is way different than I was expecting. I thought I was giving you guys advice, but I guess I'll just freeball it here. So no, but yeah, you know what? It's crazy. I actually like that you guys told me this topic, especially like because what's going on in Echo Park. And you know what? I think it makes it's a good topic, especially to branch out, because I don't know how many people in Colorado are hearing about what's going on in Echo Park or in any other state, even maybe some cities in California. So it's actually pretty crazy because every time my only experience, I obviously I'll never understand that experience of being homeless. I've never experienced that. Like I've never had to sleep on the street, thankfully. So I can't really try to even imagine what it would be like. Like there's so much to that. I always wondered what the story is. Like I've always wanted to ask a homeless person, like, how did you get here? But I don't want to insult them either. Like asking them.
Like you're curious.
Yeah, you know,
about
just
how did
curious,
that
like what
happen?
happened, you know, and it could have been a lot of things. It could be like, you know, the drug abuse. It could be mental illness, which people seem to not understand sometimes. Like, yeah, those people that when you said earlier, they're like, oh, they're capable of a job. I think Jess said that. Like, they're capable, they're walking. It's just like, bro, it's more than that. Like, it could be a mental illness at this point, aside from just drug abuse and what's going on in their past. Like, there's so much more. You got to have empathy for people that are homeless. But what's going on with Echo Park is, yeah, that was crazy. I remember actually a few weeks ago, I remember going to Wendy's parents' house. I was heading to LA, and I had to pass by through Echo Park to get to Alvarado Street. Huh.
Before you finish, we didn't go over. I know we mentioned we're going to bring it up, but let's give a little bit more backstory to this Echo Park because you're jumping into what happened.
Okay.
But people who are not from LA weren't aware of the situation. So a little backstory before you finish yours is that about a week and a half ago, Echo Park has this huge encampment housing over 100 people who live in like a touristy part of LA. So for months or weeks at end, the city of Echo Park was trying to get this permit where they're able to push these people out and relocate them. But the problem was like people who are activists and for the homeless, it's like, well, this is their livelihood. This is their house. Where are we going to move them? We're just moving the problem away so we can have a nice park or touristy. So that's where the issue came from, Echo Park, which happened about a week and a half ago. So that's what Martine's referring to.
So what happened a week and a half ago?
That it was a standoff. Oh, sorry, Cuz, go.
Oh yeah, so I mean, well, pretty much everything that. Thank you, Jess. Yeah, I totally forgot the backstory on that. I needed context. See, so yeah, there was just a lot. So Echo Park is a beautiful park. Don't get me wrong. It's a beautiful park, and there was a lot of homeless people that were living off the property, like in their tents in that park. And because that neighborhood is now gentrified, you know, the people are complaining that they didn't want all that homeless people. And the mayor, I don't know if it was a mayor or the governor, whoever it was, with the city council, pretty much said that they wanted to renovate the park, which is total BS. You know, like that last time, I was actually just alerted this news. Like last time they said that they wanted to renovate Echo Park to make it look better because it was kind of beat up back in like 2009, 2010. That ended up becoming the absolute reason to gentrification in Echo Park. And it started off by saying they wanted to renovate the park and stuff like that. After that, it became, so every time they seem to use this word renovate and try to clean up the park, they try to use those words to let us think that it's not actually, it's to help clean up the park or anything like that, but it's more to get these people out of who are already homeless, and they're kicking them out to where they already, like they have nowhere else to go. And they seem to offer this fake program where the homeless people can sign up and they'll get essentially not housing, but they'll kind of get a room paid for and stuff like that with a meal and stuff like that. All they got to do is sign up.
That's really good that you bring that up because I was literally just talking to Robert, and my brother Robert used to be in the military, so he did some work with counseling with military vets back in the day. So I was asking him, why? What is your opinion, right? Because he used to work with homelessness and amongst other groups, and so he goes, a lot of people don't want to take that help. A lot of people prefer living, especially like men, it's a little easier for them because if you go into a shelter program, so it's not a fake program or thing, but it's not a, we're not getting to the real solutions because those housing opportunities are not working because the people, some people don't, they have restrictions.
Right.
And some people don't like that. Like you have a curfew, you can't bring people in. There's just like some
They're
stuff
being
that people are like,
controlled. They're being controlled. And that's the reason why they didn't want to be in an institution to begin with. So putting them back in a hotel, it doesn't make sense. Like Cindy said, we're not getting to the root of the problem. We think, well, this is a temporary solution because, yeah, who
No,
wants to sleep on the sleep?
It's
Who
definitely
wants
not. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, who wants, we keep thinking, oh, well, you don't want to be out on the streets because I don't want to be on the streets. So let me fix it and put you somewhere. But that's not the solution. I think also it's like we're forcing these people and pushing them into something that if they wanted, they could have had, but it's something much more deep rooted within them that we're not.
Is.
Yeah.
It definitely, yeah, obviously, I mean, somebody has to ask for help in order to get it. Of course, I understand that, but there is actually, and it's cool that it's great that you guys brought that up. Like, yeah, that's separate from what I was going to talk about, but there's actually, you're talking, you brought up a male specifically, or not specifically, but I remember you said males, especially. I understand we have egos, and that can go with anything, homelessness. That could be egos, ego. Oh man, the man's ego.
But when I was saying males, I meant males are less vulnerable than women.
Right. No, I know you weren't trying
to be on the street.
Right.
I don't think it's an ego thing.
But there is also this video on Instagram that I was actually sent to where this I don't know who it was. I don't know who, like whoever worked with the person who's making this so-called renovation in Echo Park. They were telling this homeless man who lived in the park that if he moves and signs up for this program, that at least they could find him shelter in the meantime while they try to do this so-called renovating. And this gentleman like took that advice and went to go sign up for it. And when it came down to it, he was put on a wait list and he was already taken away from that park. So I understand what you're saying. Like, yeah, I'm not saying like getting them a hotel for the night is going to help, but it's just like, where else are they supposed to go? If you want to just pick them up and tell them to move from where they're living, where else do you want them to go? Like, this hotel is at least something they can have for the night. So something, there has to be obviously programs. Yeah, it's much bigger than that. But I'm talking about even the lives they go out of their way to get these people out from, this is all we got is this park. We're not, I've been to that park when there's all those tents, and I'm only speaking through a male's perspective. To me, walking through that park, I wasn't approached by anybody. It was late at night. I was actually with my friend. It was his birthday, and we were just walking through the park. We were having a little joint. We were just like, let's go through Echo Park. We were out there, and it was cool. Like, people were just literally. This is like if it was you were walking through apartments. Like, it doesn't look good. I get that, but whatever. This is their people's homes. Who are we to get them out of their situation? Where else do you expect them to go? That's my thing.
But what about
what they got? I'm sorry. Go
but
ahead.
what about the health issues that are starting to come from? It's getting more and more of an issue. So I feel like I get that part, and I get that our services aren't. I think the housing and the shelter services, I think they are effective, but there needs to be more emphasis on mental health. There needs in general in our society, because that would fix a lot of of the solutions part. But it starts to become an overflow. People start hearing like, oh, hey, look, first of all, California is a hot spot for homelessness because of the weather. Mm-hmm. So it's just easier to be outside year round. And so it's like you start spreading the word like, hey, perfect, weather's perfect, you could be outside. But then the other part is they're starting to, like, the CDC is starting to get involved because now there's health issues because of the like sanitary conditions. Mm-hmm. So how do you, I get that they shouldn't kick them out of Echo Park, but it's like, well, but what do you do? They're starting to take over different areas that are public places.
Well, that's what happens when you get gentrification, right? That causes more homelessness because people can't afford living. They have nowhere else to go. So I mean, yeah, it's a lot harder to figure out like, well, what can they do? But I don't think the solution is to at least take them out. If you're gonna have this plan to get rid of them from a public place, you should also have a plan. This is what our so-called taxes are paying for, right? The state taxes. That's what is. Those are some of the props and stuff like that, like to help homeless seek shelter and stuff like that. Like, there should be little hotels. I don't know how it's gonna work. I don't have the answers, but I also don't think that just
But you're
picking them up
saying
from where they're
it's a
from where they're at.
gentrification, and you're saying it's a
That's a huge-
gentrification issue.
That's a lot. I mean, also there's a lot of other reasons too. Like there's
No, I know, but
drug abuse and
I hadn't thought of that being one of the issues, but absolutely. Once you get people, the market goes up, right? Like once you get certain people in your neighborhood,
Gringos.
the value of the area goes up, and then now less people can afford it, and so it leaves a lot of people who are just barely making it in a place like California, very vulnerable. So that's a cool point. I saw this Hungry for Love documentary on YouTube, and it was a homeless documentary from North Carolina, and this is still pretty relevant because when I studied psychology, we studied mental health a little bit, but I remember going into like veteran psychology and like why they're mostly on the street, and it was mostly because they're war vets or they have a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder, and so they don't really know how to function correctly once they come back into society. It's like when you have someone for such a long time in jail, they almost rather prefer to stay in. Remember Shawshank Redemption? Where that's all they know. And so when you're in a war situation, or even if you're not in the war, if you're in the military, that's an intense psychological experience. There's a lot of psychology in the military to break you down, to be able to make you a machine, right? That can shoot a gun off on the enemy. That's not normal for us to do. And so they break you down so that you kind of lose that emotional aspect. So so what I wanted to say were the stats. This is from North Carolina, and in January 2018, there was an estimated 9,268 people experiencing homelessness, and out of those, 897 were families. When I say families, I mean there's an adult or two that have children. And then there was 884 veterans. Veterans mostly end up on the streets because of post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety. And then there were 478 unaccompanied youth. And when I say youth, they said that was ages 18 through 24. So 478 unaccompanied youth and 1,293 individuals experiencing chronic homelessness. And those stats are pretty all across in every state. Obviously the numbers are different, but I went to school back in the day, like Jessica said, in the 1950s, and
what a fossil.
I know. And I remember thinking like veterans, families, kids experiencing chronic homelessness. Jess, can you explain to us what chronic homelessness is?
Where they're living in their car or outside. Living in a hotel or shelter is not considered chronic homelessness.
And it's also like often, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say continuous, right?
Yes, it's continuous. So it's not even couch surfing, none of that. It's where you're outside, you don't have access to shelter, clean water. You can't take care of your basic necessities like cleanliness and showering whenever you please. So that's what we would identify as chronic homelessness. Like you're literally just out here trying to survive, which is very harsh reality for a lot of people. It just always reminds me of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where their basic needs to survive are not even met. And how do we expect these individuals who, when you're outside sleeping, you're in fight or flight mode? How are you even going to think about getting a job? How are you even going to think about have any motivation but to survive? But yet we have these expectations of these individuals like, no, well, you're capable of doing it. You're capable of doing it. You could do this. And it's just like, in what reality is that even true? Are those standards applied across the board? And I think we need to go back to the fundamentals and start applying those ideas that, no, this idea doesn't work. Just because it worked for me, myself, and it's not going to work for Cindy. It's not going to work for Martine, and it's not going to work for Eloy. We're all individuals, and we're all, like we've been saying since we started this podcast, we all have our individual trauma. And the best way I can use this analogy is like, look at your own siblings. We all grew up in the same household with the same parents, but yet we're all so different. What you guys went through is so different than what Eloy went through, but you guys grew up together. We all developed different coping mechanisms. You know what I mean? Just because we're female, Cindy, doesn't mean we think the same. Just because we're Latinas in the same culture doesn't mean we're the same. And it blows my mind when people come at me and are like, oh, you're enablers. Oh, why are you feeding them? Oh, why are you enabling this behavior? And it's like, well, I'm not. I'm trying to build a rapport with them to build that trust. Somewhere down the line, they lost. From whether it be individuals, families, friends, or institutions, they're out here for a reason. And I'm trying to get them back by the simplest thing, which is just trust. You know what I mean? And I try to sell myself like that. I try to implement my humor in some shape, way, or form, but some people don't want to have it. And I remember I would tell my therapist when I started this job, like I would struggle because I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not the best case manager worker. It's me. And she gave me this quote that I resonated with and made me think differently. So the quote was, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink.
You can lead a whole water player, but you can't make them think. You dig what I'm saying?
That was actually Money Mike from Friday After Next.
Oh, I don't know.
And instead of horse, he said hoe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you can't catch a fish. I mean, you can't
teach a man
someone.
to fish.
Here comes Cindy and her analogies. Let's hear it, Cindy.
Never mind.
You know what?
You know what
No.
I meant to say.
While you guys were talking, all I kept thinking about is fish in a barrel, everyone. Sounds of the fish, people of the barrel. Fish in a barrel.
That's why I was never good with analogies. I thought it was because I was bilingual.
You thought the
every
word
time I try
analogies
to-
was the same word bilingual?
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, like little sayings, like in English and Spanish, like little sayings, like dichos, and you're just kind of like, I was like, wait, what? Why can't you just say what the hell you're talking about? Why does that have to be a metaphor? And it's like, well, you can't teach a man whatever. It's just like, so what does that
Give
mean?
a man a
What are you
fish,
trying to-
feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for life.
And I
Come
get
on.
it; those are deep. But I'm just saying, my
Wow.
brain was always.
I
like,
have it
what?
tattooed on my lower back. I have that tattooed on my lower back. That's how I live life.
No regrets.
No regrets.
That saying means a lot to me. But I get what Jess is saying, and I think that was very powerful. And I think she figured it out. I think she figured out homelessness. I think we're set.
What?
I think
Wait,
we
what's the
got it.
End
answer?
of the
There was a
conversation.
solution.
I
The
think that
solution
was
was in that quote.
That was the
Cindy, you missed
solution.
it, bro.
That whole thing. I think Jess figured it out. Don't you guys? Wouldn't you guys agree? Like I think she got
I
it.
think, yeah.
That was it.
All right. Well,
No,
That
we'll
was
break
over.
down that. We'll break it down for people like Cindy. So people
Thank you
are
for
given
joining
this
us, primas and
opportunity.
primos. See you
This
next
was
week.
fun.
Let's wrap it up.
We
It's a wrap.
got it. So like no, but in all seriousness, Jess, that was good to bring it back. That was pretty powerful stuff there. But yeah, I don't know. I put a lot of like this conversation on the mental health thing, and I know a lot of people are using, not that they're using, but because people are coming out more about having the mental health issues, which I applaud because that was tough. There was one point where that shit was not allowed, which
Yeah, super.
thank God I was
taboo.
of one of those reasons why I'm glad that I'm a part of this generation, because I can't imagine not being able to be. I'm an emotional person. You know what I'm saying? Like just getting into the like mental, like I'm a very emotional person, just how it is. So I'm the type to I like to express myself to people that I know. I'm not just gonna express myself to a stranger, but people that I know and that I can trust. Like that is a huge deal for me to be able to cope with shit. And so there's a lot of people that don't have that support, that don't have people that they can talk to. You know, like it doesn't matter who's with me. Like there's certain things I could talk to certain people about. There's certain people I go to for certain things and things like that. And there's some people out here in the world that don't have anybody. So that's what I'm saying. Like for people to say like, oh no, well, they don't need nobody. Like, just like you said, like, yeah, you're not, just because you're mentally tough to be able to handle being alone and not having to talk about your shit doesn't mean the next person is. I am not a person who wants to be alone. I can admit that. Like I don't like being alone. It's comfortable for a bit, but I need people around me. That's just the type of person I am.
I think it
Let's
has to
talk
do a
about
lot of.
that. Let's talk about your mental health
Let's
issues,
go
Martine.
deep
I don't know.
into why you are the way you are.
Yeah,
This
Martine.
this mind is Fort Knox, guys. I don't say anything to nobody.
No,
I'm going back to being an introvert. I don't like this anymore. You know what? Just
I'm
cut
a-
me out of
I'm
this whole
a-
podcast.
Let's edit his parts out.
Just
I feel
everything.
like we're talking about mental health, and that's very beautiful because we need to normalize mental health. This is the first time it's coming up, and I'm glad. I love when it's like, oh, now everyone's talking about it. Like, good, let's get some policy changes. You know,
You're just tired of it.
I'm over it. I'm over
You're just
mental
over
health.
it? Yeah.
And I'm just playing. But
You're so strong.
so self care tip of the day.
Speaking of, where's my camera? Is it? Which one's my
You know
camera?
what,
guys?
Martine?
Okay.
One in your
Okay.
closet.
Self-care tip of the day. We talked about this in our first season when we talked about like stress and anxiety and like different times, but I think I need to bring it up again because it's something that I use all the time with me and my daughter. Breathing techniques. When you guys are having an anxiety thought, an anxiety provoking thought, or you're stressed or you're mad or you're upset, but you're trying to keep your cool, one thing you can do is go into a private place like a bathroom if you're around people and take 3 deep breaths and do it as often as you need to. The deep breaths, you take a very deep breath in through your nose and you fill up your lungs. Imagine you're filling up your lungs, you hold it for like 7 seconds, 5, as much as you can, and then you blow it all out through your mouth. That helps with, slowing down your heart rate.
Are
Helps
you
you calm
telling the
down a little
homeless
bit.
people to do this?
I'm telling everybody to do this.
Oh,
It's our self-care tip of the day. It's a new thing.
I
We're trying.
like that. I like that. My thing is I masturbate when I'm in the restroom.
Oh wow.
So that's my stress
a-
reliever of the day, if you want to call it.
Martine, I hate when you try to outsing me because you're my
Are
little
you
brother
s-
and you've always trying to do that, and I just I don't appreciate it. It triggered me. Thanks.
It's like you guys are. I don't get it, man. You guys
It's
have so much. You guys want to beat me so bad that you try to compete, and it's like, why? I'm not going to compete with you guys for trying to be me.
I'm
just
like
me. I'm better
like
than
a
everybody.
cheetah. I'm like a cheetah. I'm the fastest animal in the world, and there's no competition.
I have like 4% body
Who's
fat. so-
taller between me, Martine, and Cindy? Me.
Me.
Me? Are you guys? You guys are idiots.
I'm the tallest, strongest, and most athletic. My
Mm,
You
genes
guys
are
are-
superb.
you guys are forgetting the important topic at hand here, the homeless people. Now we're talking about you guys.
Are we being narcissistic?
We're being a little too narcy here.
I feel like we're being very millennial but
I'm
whatever.
joking.
I guess let's get back to the script, you guys. So as we were saying, what's the big picture here? Jess, you were very moved by this topic, and why? Why do we want to talk about this? Why do we want others to pay attention? We may not know all the solutions. We're not in policy. We're just trying to do our best. What's the message about this topic?
At the end of this conversation, I hope to convert some allies and have more people be understanding when they see homeless people in their own community, because we see them all over. I'm an LA native, born and raised here, and the homeless population used to just be in Skid Row in downtown LA. Fast forward 30 years, it's not the case anymore. It's all over. Every single community. I live in Northeast LA, Cypress Park, Highland Park. There's encampments along the 110 freeway. There's encampments in our community parks. There's encampments under the bridge. And it is a crisis. It's happening because there was a cause and effect. Something happened where they took all those mental health resources and utilized them somewhere else. So it is very important.
I was going to say, when you say resources, you're talking about money? The money was moved into maybe housing for richer,
or like
properties?
I'm for defunding the police for this reason. Why is $3 billion going into a police station that's equipped for war, but yet we're not utilizing those funds into our community members, into our brothers and sisters who need it for mental health services, who need it for affordable housing, and etc.
Good point.
So that's why I am for defunding the police. I don't believe we need to be equipped to go to war when the war isn't there. And I can't even tell you how many times I'm out there outreaching and people are like, wow, we thought you were cops. Oh, like we were going to go away, because they get cited, they get tickets. If you have so many tickets, you're going to go to jail. So I don't see this cycle working. We have to change something in the way we're approaching people, because the system we have right now doesn't work. How are we giving people who are unsheltered tickets for having a tent up? How does that make sense when we think about it out loud? What money are they going to, the little money they have, you think they're going to go pay this $80 ticket?
Which
It's
is,
just,
I was going to say that's exactly my point with the whole like trying to figure out what the solution is going to be. I don't know. I don't have experience working with homelessness, but I definitely have seen it, and LA is crazy. This is just LA. I hear San Francisco is even crazier, but it's just like there's so much money in like within the state for us to not be able to not have the money. Like you said, like, yeah, defunding police would be one solution if we actually use that money that we defunded to put it into these things that are supposed to work. What, like I said earlier, stuff that's on the props and stuff like that are like for helping homeless communities seek shelter and counseling for, you know, mental illness and things like that, you know, not just throwing drugs at the problem or whatever, like taking them out from their tents because we think it looks nasty. Like, well, then figure out what they're supposed to do, because this system ain't working. Like, it's, yeah, just like you said, like it's not working. I'm definitely against having people taken off of their property of something like a park just because it looks nasty to tourists and shit like that. Like, or even to just the people that are moving into these neighborhoods. Go somewhere else then, because these people have nowhere else to go, and you're not helping them out. You just don't care. Like, I don't know. I don't understand that not caring or having sympathy for, you know, like stuff like this. Some people, you know, are, you know, like I said, it's so many reasons why people become homeless, and whether it's drug abuse, mental health reasons, or just a bunch of, like you guys mentioned earlier, experience and all that other trauma and stuff like that. Like, it's messed up. But for us to just be like, yo, get out of here. We don't like how this is looking. Dip.
Yeah.
You know, and tell them we have these programs, but, you know, whatever.
My problem, I'm sorry, my problem. My part of the solution would be it has to be a policy change. It has to be like laws that go in effect, and people in government have to be interested in this so that funding can go into these programs. And I think the programs that can help is these housing programs that some people don't like being in, because in the part of prevention where people aren't chronically homeless, some people do really, those programs are a huge kind of like cushion for them to get back. So I don't want to say those programs don't work, but even in those programs, there's not enough mental health caseworkers. And that's where I think the money should go, is into social workers, counseling, because a lot of families can use so much help with just deep therapy, and we're just kind of passing them off and hoping that they're great, and it's just like they're not going to be great if they have post-traumatic stress disorder that they never tackled. Now they're just taking medication for antidepressant. Like, that's not tackling the problem, that's putting a band-aid over it. And so I think it has to come from law, but like fair housing laws, and like, you know, the money has to be distributed into mental health priorities. The other part of the solution, I think, is, damn, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, so that's the policy part. The other part is people can actually build their own nonprofits to focus. So like, if you happen to be interested in homelessness, if you know somebody that might be experiencing homelessness or living in their cars or whatever, look deeper into that situation, because what if it's something you actually like and you can give back in that way, and start getting into this world? Or maybe you are already a therapist or a social worker. And opening up these businesses that we're talking about so that these shelters can be successful, so that, I mean, who knows, people can create their own amazing, beautiful projects that might have a solution to offer. And not everyone's going to be interested in this specific thing, but you never know. It might, you know, if you are, me and Jessica are both right now very interested in it. And it's been beautiful, I think, for both of us. We just started kind of, we're pretty new at the game, but I never knew, you know, I would work with, I'm in the prevention part of homelessness. I don't work out on street outreach like Jessica. I do more preventative and only with families. But it's still very important, because I had never known all of these stories. All of these stories that I'm hearing now, oh, they're so deep. They're so deep that you're like, whoa, this person would need therapy, and now their kids also would need therapy, and now there's just so much. There's so much that it's really hard for us to offer like one solution. I think it's just distributing of funding and making that a healthier situation. And I wish it was more of a priority.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually that's crazy that you brought that up. Because I remember I was working for a temp just for like 3 months. I was doing this temp job as a part-time gig for it was for a nonprofit like lawyer organization that helped people that were getting evicted or kicked out of their homes for unlawful reasons. Because the landlord, it could be a bunch of things. Like the landlord could just be harassing them, or it's unsafe conditionings. Like something happened to their apartment, and the landlord or maintenance isn't doing anything to help, so they're kind of forced to get kicked out, and they have nowhere else to go. I actually did that. I was doing client intake for this organization called LAFLA, and I pretty much would have to call the clients because they had a case. They started a case with us and asked them about their situation. And just asking some of those questions and what they were going through, like some of those clients would start breaking down. Like I'm about to like be on the streets. I got nowhere to go because, like I said, it could have been like a bunch of reasons. And it was like the landlord was harassing and is not taking our checks, and they're just kicking us out. They gave us a 30-day notice, and now we have nowhere to go. And we're just trying to fight this because we have no reason. We have no idea why we're getting kicked out, or there could be gang violence and they're trying to just leave the area, but they're locked in. I don't know, like it's just a bunch of situations where it just reminded me of what you were just saying, Cindy, and it's just kind of like, yeah, that's true. Like I remember just doing that for a few months. A bunch of people were just like even COVID alone, like just is kicking people out of their homes because people can't afford, living where they live because it's so expensive out here. You know what I'm saying? Like gentrification is making things become way more expensive. Like you can't even just live comfortably. You have to physically move to somewhere far that you don't even know, get out of your comfort level. Like I understand, yeah, sometimes you have to do that, but if you have nowhere to go, you can't just expect to get up and leave, And a lot of people were close to experiencing homelessness, and I don't even know what happened with a lot of these cases. Like I said, I was just temping for a bit, but it just reminded me of what you were saying. Like, damn, yeah, a lot of people there's so many things that are wrong that people just can experience homelessness just off a technicality. Like something small, and it's crazy. Yeah.
You know what else is crazy? Since I started my job, is that a lot of it is like if you have an eviction on your record, let's say like something happened, right? You get an eviction on your record. Now you're not able to apply to another place because of that eviction. So some people, that's their ding, is like, all right, well, now I can't have no place and I have a family. So we're going to stay in the car for a little bit, or we're going to try out these shelters. Like I said, those shelters I think are good for families. I don't know about individuals, but it's so unique. Everybody's story is so, I mean, right? From one person to the next. It's like a crazy, intense ass. And you're just hearing the story and you're like, dude, you have post traumatic stress disorder. You have crazy childhood trauma. You have, you've turned to substances, which I get. How else, without there being a professional helping, like a mental health professional, how else are people supposed to cope? Like, why are we hating on when people call like, oh, that's just a junkie, or they're just asking for money for it's like, well, they're on the street. I don't think it's a positive experience in general. Their family probably doesn't talk to them. Not judging, but it's so crazy. And I'm not saying I'm glad that it's becoming a problem, obviously, but I am kind of glad that it's becoming like way too much, because now there's gonna have to be something's gonna have to be done. That's way too many people that you're just gonna keep displacing over and over, because anytime you got to get cops involved and cleaning up, that's still money that they're spending.
Wait. Real quick. Let me just clear this up for the fans and everybody that's listening. Are you saying you're for homelessness? Whoa. You want people to become more homeless?
No, I'm just glad
that's crazy. Just because you don't want your money to be touched. Okay, I get it. We all understand Cindy now. We get it, guys.
No. I just think.
Hashtag cancel Cindy.
Hashtag cancel. Yeah, no, I just think every time I talk to somebody from LA, they're like, dude, do you remember that one place and so, that one bridge, it's completely covered. And I'm like, whoa, what? What's happening? And then over here, like I said, the population is super different, but it's still becoming a more significant situation. It's growing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's cool. It's coming to the surface. Policymakers are going to have to do something about this. The government's starting to notice. And if it is bothering rich people, that's also a problem for the government. They can keep shooing them out of the way. It's gonna keep, like, you're not solving it. You're just putting a band-aid on it. And the more crazy it gets, I think the more people are gonna be forced to pay attention. So
how do we figure out this racism epidemic?
That's another one.
that's
Any
the
closing-
It's
root.
another 5-hour topic.
That's the
Any
root.
closing remarks, you guys?
Yeah, I would just say my solution would also be part of like what you guys said. It's just understand some people do want to live like this. We can't help everyone, and just look at them with empathy and compassion, and just understand that they're going through a lot of mental health issues, and a lot of them are self-medicating with drugs. So it's very important just try not to judge them, and just think of them as like our brothers and sisters in our community.
Yeah.
They do
That are
have some
suffering.
solutions. Yeah,
That
they
are
have
suffering.
some solutions in California. I'm not very familiar what they are in Colorado, but out here during COVID, they did open this program called Project Room Key, which they were utilizing all hotel rooms since no one was traveling. And that has been very successful, and they saw the success in it. So they're going to extend it. They kept saying, oh, but we're going to shut down in summer. Oh, we're going to shut down in winter. Oh, we're going to shut down in March. But they keep extending it because those people who do want the help, they're easy to find. We're not looking for them. They have access to charge their phone. And they're just getting back and adjusted into like getting
Society.
housed. Yeah,
and
getting
being able to
housed.
live.
Exactly. And
That's
that's
awesome.
a transition too, you know? It's not so easy to just be like living from being on the streets for how many years, months, or weeks. Your body is in that flight or fight mode. It's not a thing you could just turn off and on. You got to transition, and people cope differently. So it's just a huge, big understanding. And that's it. I don't understand why people
Misunderstanding?
no, just understanding with solutions. When it comes to solutions, let's just be understanding. It's a huge umbrella of understanding.
It's like,
Yes.
why even give your energy if you're not going to give any? Like, you're giving more energy than not giving any energy at all when you're giving negative energy. Jess,
Yeah.
real quick, in your experience, how many of these people are just hopping on the homelessness trend? Because obviously, like Cindy said, the weather allows people to be a little more homeless out here. It's a little easier. But like, I remember when there was like Occupy Wall Street and Occupy LA and stuff like that, and people were just, I want to sleep in the streets for the fun of it. Like, I wonder, do you know, like, how many people do you think, well, we're not getting in trouble for it anymore, so how many people just became homeless because of the pandemic? And like,
Well, I
why?
started in ending of the year, so I wasn't there for all of COVID. But all my clients, yeah, I outreach in Santa Monica, so that's a very hot spot where people are just traveling. They're just walking by. A lot of them don't stay there. A lot of them don't have their tent set up because it's Santa Monica. So a lot of people are just walking. I wouldn't say it's a trend.
I'm not saying right now it is. I'm not, obviously there's a realistic population of
Okay.
people who are homeless, but I'm saying, I was wondering, since you were in it, if you knew, like, have you seen the fake ones? If like, it looks like people are just, some of them are just out here.
I don't say they're fake ones, but I see some people who you can tell they went home somewhere for a few days where I don't see them. They come back clean, they come back washed, because I think they still have that sense of where they can go back home somewhere. And my supervisor, next time we have this talk, we're going to bring her on. My supervisor would tell you some crazy ass stories, but she used to be a client. And her family would still support her, and not support her, but they would allow her to come home, clean, eat,
She used
clean
to be
up,
homeless?
and then she would go back into the streets. Hmm.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just
Interesting.
like, there's some people like that, I would say, who you can tell they go home somewhere and they come back and they're back on the streets, and then they go back again. They have that place, and I don't ask them, where do you go, you know? But sometimes it's their kids, sometimes it's
They
like
just
distant
adapted,
relatives.
yeah, and they just adapted to that type of
Mhm.
lifestyle. So it's just like, this is comfort. It's kind of like how earlier when Cindy mentioned like the prison thing, like some people just say, I'd rather be in prison. This is home. Like, rather be out there and be tempted to
Yeah.
do something dangerous. Like, it's even crazier out here, especially if you're addicted to stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
One thing Robert said yesterday, I was like kind of like trying to interview him a little
who
bit.
is this guy, Robert? We can
Robert,
talk
that's
about it.
our primo. That's my
Mm,
big bro.
I don't know.
He goes, a lot of like war vets, or like vets that are, that were in the military, they are so used to so much like fight or flight from the military that when they come back home, it's really hard for them, because again, they're not getting the services that they deserve for serving their country. they're not getting like a team, right? Like I would be
Mhm.
like, you serve, you freaking get a team of trauma informed care workers. And he said that to them, those rules, those restrictions about how like shelters or hotels, it's too much for them. They're used to being in fight or flight. That's their comfort level. I don't know if it's their comfort level, but that's they
Their
know that
survival
more.
mode. Yeah, that's
They
their
know that they're
survival.
more familiar to it. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty trippy. I didn't think about it that way because I've always had the comfort of a freaking roof over my head. Always. That's never been a thought. And that's, or even if shit ever got crazy, I know I can go back to some family. Like I don't have, you know what I mean? Like I can I can pick myself back up. I don't have that deep amount of trauma. And so I think that's, you got to consider that everybody has a story. There's no way nobody wants to be out there, even if they look comfortable, or they don't want to enter the shelter programs. That's because they can't cope because, like Jess was saying earlier, there's something there that it just they don't know, and it causes too much pain and suffering that they rather just whatever their situation is. So yeah, this was a great topic.
Very
Not the first
insightful.
time.
Wait,
Yeah, not the first time. I'd like to bring on your supervisor. Like you
14,
said.
stop. You're gonna get muted.
real quick before I go, just real quick, because I'm kind of becoming a
Mhm.
reoccurring guest, and I love your guys' podcast. I'm just wondering, when are we gonna start doing that thing where we have like people come in and try to catch like sausages in their mouth? We're just like shooting that. Like, when are we doing that whole bikini thing? No, we're not doing that.
Thanks for being such a man. Ew.
Okay. I mean, whatever. I just thought we were gonna try incorporating that now, since I was on.
No, we're not into that, Martin. We're feminists, and we
When we
will,
have our live shows, maybe.
punch your fucking throat out.
We don't play butt darts. Okay.
When we have our live
The
shows.
ladies.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
guys are so inappropriate.
But
You guys are so inappropriate. It's like disgusting.
It's like we said that at the exact same time, Prima.
Whoa!
Oh
I've been
my
called
God.
a lot of. I've been called a lot of words in my life, Jess. But inappropriate. That's some wild shit, yo.
that's fucked up.
Did you guys get
Hashtag-
triggered?
Hashtag cancel Jess.
I think we're all canceled at this
Jess
point.
always takes it to that extra limit.
Just
It's
always
like-
goes there with the Barajas 5.
This is why I
Yeah,
didn't
dude.
want to. If I would have known all three of you were going to be here, I would have for sure called out sick.
Jess secretly
Please.
voted for John McCain.
All right, you guys. Well, this has been another episode of the Primas podcast.
I don't like
Tell
that
us
because
what you-
I identify as a man.
Premex.
I'm pretty conservative about this. You're not gonna change my mind.
Okay. Well, we love you guys. Be more empathetic, be more understanding. Try to put yourself in others' shoes. We
Stop Asian
love
hate.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Gang, 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 gang.